Hi, and welcome to this new episode of Dreamers and Doers, where I interview people who follow their passion and use it to make the world better. And I think that's you, Leo. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
So, I met Leo here in Bali. I've really been touched by the presence you have, and I feel people will feel that also during this interview. We're going to talk about the divine masculine, the divine feminine, about Tantra, why this matters a lot, especially now. But as usual, I'd like to start with a little bit of background on you, Leo. So a little bit around, how your life's been so far,
Yeah.
and what you learned through that you feel is worth sharing with us.
Well, every one of us have this divine contract, and I would say mine has been very interesting, very full of adventure. Uh, if we don't judge it, everything that happens around us is just wisdom, is just understanding and knowledge. So, uh, I'm from Sweden, but I'm Iranian by birth, and I start my full-time journey because all my life I have been helping people in different fields, but let's say 24/7 has been since last 8 years. So I dedicated my life to serve and to share the message I have received. Basically, here we are.
What's the message?
The message is love. Yeah, the message is basically, back in those days, the old days, we didn't have rules. We had suggestion how to live the life. And unfortunately, this message has been mistranslated, got lost in translation, and during so many thousand years, here we are at the result of that mistranslation, I would say. So I'm basically just offering a different reality, and I'm not saying that's the reality, because what I offer is practical spirituality. Because all of us, we know a lot about the theoretical. We have been in India, we have been having lots of medicine ceremonies and amazing journeys, but now the blueprint is ready. We just have to add a little bit more of it, refine it, and then put it in practice.
So, what do you feel you work mainly on when you're coaching people? Is it on them being more happy or fulfilled, being more in connection with their heart, in connection, being more grounded? What would you specialize more?
I would say what I offer is a holistic uh, uh, wisdom or message, because we are not only mind, we are not only spirit, we are not only emotions, we are not only physical or only sexual, we are all of them in one package. And in order to understand ourselves, we have to understand all these five aspects. And basically, usually, people follow one reality, which most of the time is being programmed to their subconscious since childhood. That's the reality. If you have this job, if you have this partner, if you have this bag or these shoes, you will be happy. And then okay, we get that education, that job, that house, that partner, that dog, and we're sitting in the living room. In one hand we have antidepressant, and the other hand have a whiskey, and we are not happy. So what I do, I basically offer a different reality. I'm not saying that's the reality. I say practice it. If you feel happier, then you can make it after 1 year. It takes 1 year to reprogram. I would say that can become your reality.
That's nice. And probably one area where there is the most maybe programming or conditioning in our society is around relationships, and especially intimate relationships. And that's something that I've been really interested on recently, and it actually relates a lot to everything else you do in your life, with like your business, playing music, all this. So I kind of feel there is it's very important at the moment that people relate to each other in a different way, probably with a lot of love and less ego. And something I've been following a bit is how personally to be more of a man, even in my divine masculine, and looking into people like how to be up to the goddesses that you can find in Bali that are really in the divine feminine too. But so can we talk a bit about that, and can you start talking about what you think, how would you describe divine feminine and divine masculine? And I'm really happy to have you on this show because I think you're a real inspiration for me as divine masculine. I think men in our society need to have some role models. They can feel, they can be role models and have a certain presence, and so I think you're very qualified to speak on this.
It's really an honor. Just a mirror of you. There are so many things that they are interconnected when we are talking about the connection between the divine masculine and feminine. But in order to understand everything, we have always take one step back and just try to find the root and try to find the right definition for everything. And basically, from my point of view, I think we should go back to the oneness first. Why it was divided in two? I mean, that's a good question, why it was not just being one, having fun up there, in the seventh dimension, bliss, endless infinity of happiness. Well, it gets a little bit boring when you're having so much fun, right? So we were sitting there and they said, well, why not to have some adventure? And they say, what if we could take this oneness and divide it in two? And then they try to find each other again. Just take a vacation from this amazingness, just to have some adventure. And they say, okay, that's a good idea, I like it. How do we do it? They say, well, we divide us in two pieces, it becomes duality. And in duality, we have always some tools in one side and some tools in the other side. And the combination of these tools makes the path, easy to come back to oneness. I say, well, that sounds good. How we do it? I say, well, we create something that we call the divine feminine. I say, well, it sounds good. What do we give her as a tool? Well, we give her compassion, empathy, sympathy. We give her hospitality, kindness, patience, creativity, and the list goes on and on. Well, I like it. Very soft, very squishy. I would say, yeah, it's just sweetness. So what do we give the other part? Well, we call it the divine masculine. That's nice. Well, we give him in strength, so he's strong. We give him discipline. We give him problem solving. We give him analysis. We give him the tools to use the mind that they are going to receive as a gift. And we give him transportation. He stands for transporting things, and making sure that we have abundance. And basically, this stubbornness, if they are focusing on one thing, so they do single tasking, one thing. If you want to make coffee, we watch the water stuff until it boils, we just want to make sure everything works fine. So very reliable and very protective and strong. And say, well, it sounds very good. These are very good qualities the divine masculine has. Say, well, that's good. If we combine these two, they could go back. So, well, we have to give them a map how they can come back. I say, well, this is the map. The droid, how we can get back to oneness. And say, well, just to make it a little bit more spicy, we just rip it off in two pieces. We give half of it to divine masculine, half of it to divine feminine. And this is like a Harry Potter magic map. You cannot see anything until they are glued together, and you can see, the path. And they say, well, that's very interesting. Let's start it. And then they say, well, that makes it a little bit more spicy. I say, well, what do you mean? Well, they have to find each other. That's the first thing. So what do? I say, well, we give them the gift of attraction. So for no reason, you don't know why, you enter a place and there are 100 people. That is one person that you feel that you need to share your diamond with. Very simple. You say, okay. And that attraction works as a glue too. So put the map together. You say, well, let's start it. I say, no, wait a minute. We have to make it more spicy. More than this? You say, well, yeah, it's the adventure, right? You say, yeah. So what do? The qualities the divine feminine got. These are the amazingness, right? They are the light side of the divine feminine. let's create a shadow side. We are living in the duality, right? Say, you're right. What do we give her? Well, we give her manipulation. We give her narcissistic behavior. We give her jealousy, vanity, victimship, feeling sorry for herself. We give her drama and this and that. So they go to the shadow side. So wow, I love this combination. It sounds very good, very interesting. How about men? What do we give them? Well, we give him anger. We give him violence. We give him jealousy. We give him neediness, and so on and so on. And say, well, let's do it. And they say, hang on a second, we have a challenge here. So what is the challenge? There are two pieces we have to add into this equation in order to this to function. So what do? We say, well, we have discovered that divine masculine, in his physical, he's strong. That's not the divine feminine is not strong, but when it comes to the physical, the man is stronger, and the ego loves to go to the power. So we have to protect him somehow in order for him to function. That's a good idea. What do? We say, well, we make a miniature of the divine feminine and put it inside him. So with love, compassion, injection every single day. So we're gonna just give him a protection against the ego, so he can stay in the light side all the time. I say, well, let's do the same thing for the divine feminine. I say, no, there is no need. With the tools that she has, she doesn't need the divine masculine inside her. But what we're gonna give the responsibility of that energy into man. So which means the man has to serve, protect, and entertain the goddess. Entertain, I put it myself. We have to put a smile on the goddesses, right? On the face. So in the beginning it was serve and protection, but it was a little bit boring. So entertainment is good. And they say, well, they have already become the duality of the masculine and feminine. So they say, okay, but they need a portal, a stargate, to bring them back, because according to the map, we need a stargate. So they give that stargate to the goddesses. So they are the key holders. So their yoni, their temple, their flower is the temple. So they bring lives from the seventh dimension. They give them birth, and they grow up, because we are here to experience life, everything. How it feels to eat ice cream, how to swim, how to feel heartbroken, all kind of emotions. For that we need a physical body in order to experience the experience. So we bring the souls down, but at the same time we use the same portal to bring them back. We say, well, there is a problem here. We have grown, so we don't fit into the temple. We say, well, there is a way we teach them. We call it alchemy. And in order to do the alchemy, we have to do some Tantra, because we are right now, especially in these times, we are a little bit in the unbalanced situation, let's call it. So what they did, they put a series of things that we do, that we shrink ourselves as a man into the size of our lingam. And then we enter the temple, and then we can go back. And that is another story. It's a very wide subject. So going back to, I had to explain this so we can understand the job that we have. So in order to find the unity, first we have to understand and define who we are as an individual.
And when you talk about man having a bit of that feminine, divine feminine side, but women don't have a bit of the divine masculine in them?
They don't have it. But what they can do, because they are divine, of course, they can download a program of the masculine energy.
Okay.
So from outside, when you look at them, it looks like, they are very masculine, but it's only a programming. I have one whole workshop, 3 to 5 hours sometimes. It talks about just what's the downside and what's the upside of having the divine masculine programming in the goddesses.
Okay. Yeah, because my representation is like people like mainly masculine or mainly feminine, and that actually even a woman can be mainly masculine, and that it's always a bit of a spectrum, a percentage. Would you relate to that?
Yeah, definitely.
vision?
But we have to understand again why the goddesses with these amazing tools have a need to download that masculine program. Remember, the masculine program job was to protect. If they cannot get protection from the divine masculine, they download the program.
And so do you feel that the feminine downloading some qualities of the divine masculine comes from the failure from the masculine to protect, rather than from maybe a desire from the divine feminine to also embody some of those qualities of the divine masculine?
I would say the first part is most accurate, because once a goddess, let's say she's pregnant, for instance, and carrying a baby boy, at the same time she is feeling whatever she needs to feel partly, if you are going to have baby in this life. But the first one is more applying to our life right now, because there is a lot of unbalanced divine masculine and feminine. And the divine feminine, in order for her to feel safe, she had to download this program. And this program is amazing, it works a lot, but it has a lot of side effects. And those side effects are very dangerous, I would say, for the divine feminine.
And so in that representation, you need to find a loved one to be complete in a way. Or do you feel like as oneself, through celibacy, you could also combine the divine masculine and feminine and go back to that oneness? No, you need the other?
I won't say, because to complete each other, unfortunately, has been defined in a different way. Because if I am searching for someone to do my alchemy, to go back to the oneness, I need to be complete as I am. So usually they say we have to commit to each other, and I think it's better to commit to our own evolution. And all the rivers end up in the ocean anyway. So if I just commit, I want to get myself into the ocean, then I will be one with my beloved. So if we are searching for someone to complete us, we are having lots of challenges.
Okay.
We are being dependent.
So that search for oneness is just at a moment, and then you go back into being in your divine masculine, or do you feel that oneness through all the time through being in your divine masculine?
Well, we shall not forget, in the yin and yang, if you look at the logo, in the dark side we have one spot of the white, and the same thing. So we are complete as we are, but the duality gives us a chance to digest things, to understand and to experience things without judging it. And that's the time when we judge, then we lose the whole picture.
And so in our discussion, I still have, but we could discuss more, but I still have a feeling that the divine feminine can enjoy some qualities of the divine masculine by themselves without the failure of the masculine. But what's anyway very obvious is that women nowadays kind of have to work a lot on their masculine side, because it can be a bit hard to feel safe with the current level of consciousness when you're a woman. So what do you think men need to work on to allow the divine masculine to be fully in their to allow the divine feminine to be in their feminine fully?
Well, I need to talk about two things first. One is, everything in life builds on trust. So the trust is the foundation of whatever we build on. Because once we have a trust, it gives birth to a feeling safe, right? When you trust someone, you feel safe. And once we feel safe, it gives birth to surrendering. You surrender. And what happens when you surrender? You become very calm. Tranquility comes to you. And when we are calm, we give birth to creativity. And once we are creative, we give birth to abundance. And once we have abundance, we give birth to freedom. And once we have freedom, we become happy. And once we are happy, we want to share that happiness, and that is a major element to oneness. So from trust to oneness, we have to go through all these things. So the goddesses today, unfortunately, they cannot build the first stone. So it doesn't matter how much you work if you don't have the trust. And let's face it, most of us are programmed to not trust, and it actually goes way back to the Lemuria, the great betrayal that we were talking about. And that time, we men, very innocently, actually, the story is very beautiful. I have another workshop that talks about the Lemuria and what happened. And in that time, we lost the trust in the divine feminine, and then we lost the trust in that feminine. We had one inside us, so we even put her, in coma or protection. So what happens? That vacuum, that empty place, what has to be filled with something, we just become even more masculine. It becomes macho instead of being divine masculine. But when it comes to the sisters, is that you see, I have to explain this because I think it's very crucial to understand. You see, the divine feminine doesn't need, in order for her to show how amazing she is, the divine masculine in essence, right? Because she's carrying the heart. So what happens when there is unbalance, the toxic masculinity around? She needs to feel protection, and she doesn't get it from men. What does she do? She goes to her own divine internet and says, I'm looking for a program that contains these qualities, and enter, and it search, and then it shows up, well, we have one program called Divine Masculine. Do you wish to have a trailer? Yes. Watch the trailer, I love it. So she downloads that program and then say, well, I'm gonna install it, because she loves what she sees. And the first day that she installs that program, suddenly she gets raised, at the job. Her husband listens to her more because, my way or highway, very masculine. And she loves it because this was exactly what she needed. Because, this is my strongest belief, that the goddesses, they are carrying the seed of love and light and compassion. So they just need a space to plant it. So what happens, they were so unhurried to download that program that they forgot to read the fine print. And the fine, there's a big warning sign that say only be used 20 minutes a day. So what happens, we have been having on that program 24/7 for last 20-30 years, and the things that affects is in all the 5 centers that we're going to talk about. They affects their sexuality. The physical body gets a lot of heat because the masculine energy is so heavy. That's why we are so muscly, because we have to carry that energy all day long. So they carry it, but all the joints and all the body start failing after a long time. And there are many other side effects. In the mind, they get a little bit judgy, and they go basically most to the shadow side of the divine feminine.
Okay. And David Deda, he talks a little bit about men being a lot on the machista side, or macho, and then that's actually something I've been following a bit. I was more in that way, and then when I got a bit aware of that, I went a bit the other way, I feel, which is what he would call the wimp, in the way of the superior man, which is one where you're a nice guy but you don't have really that protection side. And then it can be a bit tricky to find a balance sometimes. I'd love to ask you, for example, there are a few things I'm pondering sometimes, and where I find it's a little bit hard to find the balance. For example, one would be about being possessive, because you don't want to be possessive in the way that you limit freedom, especially if you like goddesses that have that beautiful freedom and that's what you love about them. But on the other hand, there is at some point something attractive for a woman to be claimed by the divine masculine. Would you agree with that?
Well,
like to be taken.
Yeah, but the thing is that in essence, the goddess, we have to understand one thing when it comes to the divine feminine. They have two major qualities. They are reactive, they are expansive. What does it mean? In essence, it doesn't mean they don't have their own willpower, that's a different story. But in essence, like a trees, they react on our action and they multiply it back to us. So if I have a mango tree, I take care of the tree, I give it water, I take care of it, and then what do I get? So the mango tree reacts on my care and gives back 1,000 mango back to me, right? The same thing is with a goddess, because they are from the same Mother Earth, we call it, right? All the goddesses, before they are women, they are mother. So what happens here, they react. The old saying, give the goddess some grocery and she gives you back a delicious meal, and if you give her a smile, she gives back her heart to you. If you just, I don't know, give her a home, a room, she makes it to a home back to you, and give him a sperm, she multiply and make it a baby out of it, and if you are nice to her, she will multiply back to you and you get held back. So it doesn't mean that she doesn't have her own willpower, but that is her essence, to react and multiply. One sunflower seed, you act and you plant it in the soil, you take care of it, you take all the weeds away, you make sure that it's growing well, and then what happens after some months, you get thousands of the same seed back. And this is so we have to understand it, but in order to do that, right now there are lots of obstacles in the way, so we have to go through one and every one of them to understand them and to try to open a space, and magic will happen. Because I wrote a quote the other day. I said, well, women become magicians when they feel safe. That's the key. When the goddess feels safe, magic happens, because she's a magician. She just doesn't know it yet.
But do you feel still, and maybe it's something that comes from society that hasn't gone well, but do you feel that the divine feminine wants sometimes the divine masculine to claim her?
I won't call it claim, because in order for divine feminine
to be like, baby, you're mine, you know.
Yeah.
It can be something that attractive, I guess, for the women. That
yeah, the thing is that the goddess, she wants to create. That is her urge in life. You know, if you ask what is the purpose of my life, I tell to all my sisters, you have only one purpose in life: to spread love and light, to create life, and to guide us men back to oneness. Very simple. That's the purpose of life of the goddesses. And what is our purpose? Because we want to go back, right? I wrote another quote. I said, women are the stargate. Women, we are just homesick. We just want to go home, and in order to do that, we have to open a space for the goddess to become creative, and guide us into oneness. We are like sitting in a boat. The captain of the boat is the goddess, because she has the compass where we are going. And we are the manpower. We are the protecting. We make sure that the boat is floating. That's our job. So the path is like walking on the edge of a samurai sword. You know, it's really difficult to balance in the beginning, but by time we get better.
And let's say if I'm very aware that some of my neediness, or need to be possessive, or even jealousy, or feeling of not being good enough is not going to help me, but sometimes I just have the emotions coming and the old programming coming, and that will come up. Let's say if I'm at a party with that woman I really like, or what is the right mindset, or maybe techniques, or how would you deal with that? Because as divine masculine, I want to be very not needy and be really confident in just being myself, and not have any complex around that. But it's easier said than done. Do you have any tips on that?
Well, again, we have to take one step back here. You see, when everything was one, in alchemy we say everything was one, and what is above, the abstract, wanted to have a three-dimensional experience, which is this physical world, right? In order to create as above, so below, we needed to have a third party here, and that was the mind. So that's how we create the Trinity, different names: Father, Son, Holy Ghost. If you go to practical alchemy, they call it, the oil, and the spirit and the salt, and so on and so on. So so in order to create something tangible, we need to use the mind. And mind is just a machine, doesn't have its own willpower. It's just a car. Who's the driver? Right? So in order for mind to function, we need two components. If you just put one thing, it doesn't work. It stands in standby position all the time. So in order for mind to function, it needs to analyze things back and forth, and to find a solution. So, but when this beautiful function takes over by the ego, the analysis becomes judging. And once we judge, we only see half of the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And once we see the half of the truth, we never can be free, right? So the mind of us, 30% of what we think, because all the things that you said, those emotion that comes, and why do I do this? Because of the programming. Yes, it is. But we can reprogram our subconscious with the help of the creative mind, which is the second part of the consciousness, right? So 30% of what we are thinking is a healthy ego, that it goes back to the tool to protect us, because egos, they are not actually bad. They were just created to protect us. So 30% of the thought process is healthy ego, 70% is not healthy. So all those thoughts you're talking about comes from that judging and those feeling which has its roots in the programming. I hope it makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
But what is important is just to not even judge yourself and just to perceive yourself.
Yeah.
And see, okay, how do I feel about this thought? I usually say, I have this metaphor, excuse me. I say, imagine your body is the island of Bali, right? And the mind is the Denpasar airport. And the airplanes that lands, they are the thoughts and all the passengers inside. So back, usually we don't have any immigration officers there. People just come in and go. And 70% of the thoughts, they are not good for us. 30% are good. They are here to lift up Bali, right? So my suggestion is just to install the immigration office right here in the airport. And don't judge anything that comes. Don't say, oh, I don't want to think about that. Say, just welcome everything. I just ask them to take a queue number. Stay in the line. Bzz, number 25. What's the purpose of your visit? That's the question we should ask. And then say, well, I'm here to tell you are not beautiful. So, well, visa denied. What is this ridiculous? We never used to have visa. I could just come in and out, say, well, the rules has changed now. So in order to enter, I'm going to ask you the question, what's the purpose of your visit? Because those thoughts, they come in and affect us in spiritual, intellectual, emotional, physical, and sexual.
And I'd get that rationally, but sometimes it's just not that easy to implement. To have that thought that comes and be like, oh, that's not a good thought, I won't let it in. But how do you actually implement that? Because it's not that simple.
It's not that simple. I totally agree with you. That's why this is a very tough path from being a man with lots of needs to become the warrior of love and light in order to serve, protect, and entertain. So this is a very tough life. But my suggestion to all my brothers especially is that everything comes from sexuality. So we have to become the king of our sexuality. Because remember the trust, that we don't trust the women, because this is my opinion. I think 98% of the people on this, of men, we don't trust women. We have this chip here, never trust a woman. They manipulate you. And we have the same thing goes for the goddesses. They have the same chip. They have this collective consciousness, don't trust the men. So even if you get married and blah blah blah, but deep inside you don't trust.
It's a vicious circle.
Exactly. So what does it mean to become the king of your sexuality? Which means your heart is in the driver's seat of your sexuality, because the ultimate, with all respect, I hope you don't judge me in this, but the ultimate manipulation a goddess has when she's in the shadow side is her sexuality. And that is our very weak point. So once I become the king of my sexuality, so she tries everything to manipulate me, it doesn't work, and I'm still there looking at her and admiring her, and I say, well, what is left to be? The only thing is left is the divine feminine, the light side, and she sees that I'm not judging, I'm here to serve, protect, and giving love. So slowly she comes out from that shadow side. First the head, look, is it safe? And then one hand, and then the other hand. So even reactive and expansive quality of the goddess. So once we become our own king of our sexuality, then we have a power to open the path for both of us to grow. And how we do that, that goes through the Tantra and through the alchemy, the divine sexuality.
Okay, well, that was my next question. Do you want to go a bit more into details?
Sure, I can talk about it for hours, but
Okay,
just...
well, let's do for a few minutes to start with.
Mhm. Well, about Tantra, right?
Yeah, but how do you become the master of your
Yeah.
sexuality? Recently, I've trying to become multi-orgasmic, for example, to practice semen retention, which originally is more just for mainly for your level of energy, but it's also becoming a better lover. But I guess there's a whole approach to it too. I mean, I used to enter sexuality from a place of ego a lot also, and personal pleasure, and working also on rewiring that. So I guess there's quite a bit to be said on this. But in a nutshell, what advice would you give to men to become the master of their sexuality?
The first thing we have to understand is that the goddesses or women, they have separated the laws of an egg and the seed and their orgasm. So they have their moon when they lose one egg, and they have their own orgasm separately. For us men, through all the evolution that has gone a little bit wrong or right, again, but in the other direction, that we have combined our orgasm with losing the seed. So we call it the little death when we have ejaculation. So what happens that, we know in the essence, in our subconscious, the most precious things we men have is our seeds, right? Our sperms are the most, if you look at it, every sperm has a potential to become a human. So whatever we eat, drink, inhale, everything refines, goes through so many filters in the spine, and it becomes one sperm. Such a treasure, such a diamond we have there, right? So once we have ejaculation, we are losing the most precious thing we have, and within us we become very sad. We get a little bit of depression in that moment that lasts maybe some minutes, even seconds, doesn't matter, but we know that we are losing something precious, and in our subconscious we blame the goddesses. We say, you are the one that caused it because you are so beautiful, and so I cannot stop myself. But yet we have this losing that one. And I usually say, with every drop of the semen that leaves us, the love to the goddesses that we are living with leaves. The love disappears. So when we keep that semen, that sperm, we are actually keeping the love inside us. So that would be the understanding how important the seeds are. And the goal is to don't have a need to ejaculate. And it sounds a little bit science fiction, because for us men, everything we do it for the ejaculation. We drive a car, we go to gym, these clothes, educate, everything we do at the end, the very, 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 very end, if you look at it, we are searching for that ejaculation in our subconscious or consciousness. So what happens if we can learn how to separate these two from each other, become a woman? So we have our moon, but we are not losing the egg, but the emotion of that will be still there. And then we have our separate, so we can get the dry orgasm without losing, and it's fully possible. I know this sounds like a science fiction for some of my brothers, but it's fully possible that you can do that. And after a while, and this is my own experience, after a while you don't even want to have an orgasm, because the goddess's orgasm,
An ejaculation, because you actually do have orgasms without the ejaculation.
yeah, in the beginning, yes, you have orgasm, but after a while you even give up the orgasm.
Well, don't you still have orgasms without ejaculating?
Because we have to define what is the feeling of orgasm. You can have a plate full of seeds. You can start eating them all at once, or you can start eating them in 2 hours or 8 hours. So we are just programmed
and you don't
to
have
use
peaks.
Of
through
course
that.
you will have
Okay.
it, but when it comes to the alchemy, that's the
Okay.
part after the
I
tantra.
think it's definition then, because then Mentak Chia, when he talks about that, it would be you have several orgasms without ejaculating,
Yeah.
but he still considers you have orgasms.
Yeah, definitely, and that he's right. But this is again about tantra.
Mm.
But we have to remember that tantra. What is tantra? Let's define tantra. Tantra is a school for men to understand the goddess. Very simple. Because the goddesses, they are born as a master in their spiritual, intellectual, emotional, physical, and sexual. They just have to be activated. In one night, a goddess could turn to the tantra master in one night. For us, it takes some time. We have to work for it because many things has happened in the past. So we have to reprogram that.
Mm.
So in the alchemy, you will have it's completely, because the real journey of oneness starts when we start the alchemy, because the tantra is just the detoxification phase. We are learning slowly to keep our energy inside and not losing it. That's one step. We are getting more deeper understanding about divine feminine. We reactivate the divine feminine. We take it out from coma and let upgrade her. So there are many things happening in the tantra time. So we get ready. So we are building a spaceship in tantra, but the real journey, when you sit down with your goddess in that spaceship and you start a beautiful journey. That is the alchemy, and this is what many people, they don't know, that what comes after alchemy. They think is the tantra. They think that's the end station, but it's just a preparation
Preparation for.
for the oneness, the journey of the oneness, alchemy.
And so for that sexual mastery, practicing semen retention would be a
First understanding,
yeah.
and not having a bad conscience when you lose it, and oh no, I have lost it. No, because from let's say hypothetically you are having ejaculation every day, and you want to start the path of the enlightenment, right? And then you do 6 days a week, you have ejaculation, and you spare 1 day. And again, if from 0 to 10, if 0 is the start of the tantra and the 10 is the orgasm, so usually the people that try to walk that path, they go to the 8 and 9. That's the point of no return. So we have to stay in 5 and 6, and then just have the feeling. And after that, gradually, you go to once a week and twice a month, and then go on and go on. And again, if we want to have the path of alchemy, which is very few is walking it, that would be no ejaculation at all, because there is ejaculation that is based on your age, how often you can do it. So the older you get, you have to pause that time a bit longer. But that's the first thing, to understanding of, okay, there is if what happens if I don't do it. Just imagine if you are having intimacy with your goddess and you don't come, and you are giving her all the space, and she's in 7th heaven and she's enjoying, but you are not coming. What happens? And if she knows your path, that you are doing it because you want to have more love, then she doesn't feel, oh, I'm not beautiful, I'm not attractive, he doesn't want me, because this kind of things could come to the surface. But you just ensure her that I'm here, and because if I keep that one, I will love you more, I will pay attention more to you, I open more space for you, I give you more trust, I give you more safety. So just welcoming her slowly, because my sisters, they have been programmed too, right?
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so touching more around the end of this interview, what would you like to see for that to happen? Would it be people doing more workshops, people just being nicer in the street, like what?
I would say, first of all, we have to understand the mind. The mind is the creator. 95% of us is the subconscious, and the subconscious is the manifester, is the magician within us. It doesn't see the difference between illusion and reality. It just give me a program, I manifest it. I fake it till I make it. Even you just give it an illusion, it makes a reality out of it, because this is our subconscious that is connected to the source. when we say, oh, the universe always matches our vibration and frequency, is not about, is the subconscious frequency and vibration. So first, have a little bit deeper understanding about the mind. Try to understand the mind and never judge anything, even yourself included.
Through
And
meditation?
meditation is good, but we have to understand what the meditation is. Meditation, which means you are in the middle, you are in the middle, meditation. You station yourself in the middle. And what does it mean? That you don't judge anything. There is no bad, there is no good. You're just right in the middle, and you are just sitting in the witness chair and just watching a movie. And that's the time you are present, because the frame of the present is only 1 second. And that's why is 1 second, because the ego needs 1 second to install the army to attack. So when you jump from second to second, you're always 1 second ahead of the ego. It's the ego-free space you create when you meditate. And then you can create meditation when you're playing guitar, doing gardening. It doesn't matter what you don't need to have this position, to be yogi to meditate. No, meditation, which means whatever you do, but you stay in the middle. That's the key. But there are many other things. I usually say the healthy mind is in the healthy body. So take care of the body, eat well, do yoga if you feel to, whatever, go to the gym, take care of the body. This is a temple, this is a gift we have received, this is a beautiful Ferrari we have, we have to take care of it. And it's just make sure it's tuned and it's always ready to serve. Because our body has a memory, and we have to make sure that memory is filled of joy and balance. So body and mind, first of all. The rest will eventually come.
Yeah, I like the simplicity of that approach. What's the impact you want to have in the world?
Well, I try not to judge things, and I totally respect the divine contract of everybody, because for me, this world is a divine comedy, as Dante said. For me, this is like a universal picture in Hollywood, and this Pachamama is the decoration of that setting, and there is 7.2 billion actors acting in this play, and everyone is the star of their own show. So we are here to experience and re-experience. That's what soul wants. Soul always wants to re-experience everything. So that doesn't matter if it is anger or is happiness. For soul, is both of them is an experience. So I just don't judge people, and my part of job is, if anyone asks for help, I will be there more than happy to share just the message, because nothing I have, I'm just sharing the message, I'm just a messenger. But I would never interfere, because I love pain. The oldest tango in the universe is between pain and understanding, is the chocolate wrapped in the foil. So the pain is divine, because inside the goddess, she is pregnant 9 months, and out comes the child of understanding, right? So these are always, but if we don't find the chocolate, the diamond, we repeat the pain, that becomes suffering. So suffering is a choice, but the pain is divine. So without judging things, just staying there. Even I like to see people in pain, because it helps them to grow. And different soup has different boiling time. Some soup boil for 20 minutes, some boil 8 hours. Who am I to go and turn it off or on? We just have to respect the divine. But if anyone asks me for help, I will be gladly to help, and that's the part I do. I grow through helping.
Well, thank you for answering
Thank you
my
so much.
invitation. What's next for you? What's exciting you at the moment?
Well, I have
And
been
how
under
can we follow you, if we can?
Yeah, the thing is, I have been under the radar for all my life. That's the Virgo in me, wants to just be behind the scene and work behind the scene. But I'm slowly coming up to the surface, because we have to spread this message through media. So my website is going to come up next month, and workshops and videos I'm planning to have. I'm planning to have something called the metaphor of the day. Just makes things simple, because simplicity is the key from my point of view. When we make things simple, then we understand it. And I have the gift to see the most complex things and make them simple, so everybody can understand. And slowly we will get in touch. But if there's anyone that wants to have a connection, they can go through you now. So I will be at their service.
Thank you, Leo.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you.
It's a tradition to finish the interviews with a warm hug. And thank you to everyone who took the time to listen to this.
Keep shining. Thank you.